A Daingerfield woman is dead following a two-vehicle crash in Longview. This happened Wednesday near McCann and Judson Road in North Longview, and one of the vehicles was on fire when first responders got there. Longview police say crash investigators determined 43-year-old Monica Brock was heading north along Judson Road when she lost control of her vehicle and began to spin into the path of southbound traffic. That's where her car collided with a Ford SUV.